Well, excellent. I see we have more than 50 people have joined, which I'm really excited about. I know we have a lot of ground to cover today, so I want to kick us off. Firstly, thanks so much for joining. My name is Soren Bastard. I'm the CEO of 8IQ. Today, we're going to be talking about deepening consumer relationships in the digital world. I think it's probably one of the most important topics we've heard about the last 2 to 3 years, and I'm really fortunate to be joined by a number of experts here. Today, one of our experts, Dina Otto, is the COO of Stanford Federal Credit Union. Many of you know, it is not a secret that Stanford Federal Credit Union has an amazing location, downtown Palo Alto. That means members include employees of Google, of Tesla, and Meta, and Apple. And from a financial institution perspective, that is wonderful. It's people with high earning potential. They are great customers, but there is a flip side to this. The customers or the members of Stanford Federal Credit Union also come with very, very high expectation. And we have asked Dina to join us today to talk about how do you create a digital experience that resembles what people working at Google or Apple or Meta are used to. Before I let Dina introduce herself, I also want to introduce Jody McCrary. Jody is the Director of Go-to-Market Strategy and Program for Q2's Innovation Studio. And Jody and I have been working together on our partnership for a number of different years. So Dina and Jody, thank you so much for joining us today and welcome.
Great, thanks. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. Well, before we kick off, I briefly introduce myself. Could I ask you to do the same?
Sure, I'll start, Jody. So hi, I'm Dina Otto. I'm the SVP and Chief Operating Officer for Stanford Federal Credit Union. Many of the kind of servicing retail areas report up through me. Been in the industry for about 20 years, and I've been with Stanford Federal Credit Union going on 3 years.
Thanks, Dina. Jody McCrary, as Soren mentioned, I lead up the go-to-market strategy and program division of our innovation studio at Q2, which we'll talk a little bit about probably at some point today. But really, that's a collection of our partner ecosystem and tools and programs to help financial institutions really extend and personalize their digital banking platform. So for most of my career, I've spent about 2 decades helping brands really develop go-to-market and product strategies to compete against the giants in their industry. The majority of that time has been working with community banks and credit unions directly, so I'm very excited to be here.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Dina and Jody. You know what? One of the things that for me kicked off the interest in doing this webinar was, of course, my interaction with Dina through our partnership, but also Jody. Not too long ago, Q2 put out an informatic. I think that was based on data from JD Power, where you mentioned that 78% of banking consumers expect a personal experience and personal support from their financial institution. In reality, only 44% of them actually get that. So Dina, I wanted to tell you a little bit about how do you tell a little bit about how does Stanford Federal Credit Union service your members? Tell us a little bit about your background and your history, because I think we will come back to this in 2 seconds. This idea of giant gap between what people say that they want and what they actually perceive that they get, I think should be an anchor point for our conversation today.
Yeah, so we serve, we obviously, hence the name, Stanford Federal Credit Union, started out by serving the Stanford community. So that in itself, right, sets the bar, very, very, very high. And then it was a natural fit for us. We're in Silicon Valley to start serving, some of the tech community alum, basically, of, Stanford as they've moved into, starting companies or going to work for some of the companies. It was a natural fit for us to start serving the tech, communities kind of in our backyard. Stanford Federal Credit Union has a history of innovation. So we were the first credit union in 1994 to launch online banking. And our members every single day, require us to make sure that we stay up to speed, stay innovative. I always tell the story that, no joke, our members have no problem, sending us an email and letting us know that there might be a line of code that is off somewhere, maybe on our corporate website, and we should, revisit that line of code. So that in itself, makes sure that we are, staying on our toes and keeping up with the times.
Certainly demanding members, great members, but very demanding members. Dina, you mentioned that you launched online banking back in 1994. I mean, that's really, really impressive. I also wanted to maybe just ask you about, so you are a proud, card-carrying member or customer of Q2. Could you talk to us a little bit about why did you select Q2 as your digital partner?
Yeah, so it kind of, predates kind of my tenure at Stanford Federal Credit Union, but I know that what's been super beneficial for the teams. One, Q2 has been an excellent partner for us, to kind of from a collaboration standpoint. I think that's important to any, financial institution. But we also, and you'll hear me talk maybe more about this kind of later, love the fact that Q2 has a marketplace, that Q2 is going out and, partnering so that, it's kind of half the work is done for us. So some of that innovation, it's like, being able to kind of go into your backyard and sort of select, hey, we talked about this. We think that this would be beneficial to our members. Oh, hey, wait, look, Q2 has a slew of, has already partnered with, these companies, and we can go out and kind of select the one that's the best, fit for us. So I know that that's something that's been really beneficial to us here.
That's good. That's great to hear, Dean. And I fully understand. As somebody who spent 10 years in mobile banking payments, I understand exactly how complex that is and how beneficial it is to banks. So Jody, I'm going to point this at you. In the same infographic that you put out, JD Power highlighted that 70% of financial institution says that offering fintech solution is incredibly important to them. Now, that idea of meeting your members where they're at is not new, but can you talk a little bit about what have you at Q2 been doing the last, I'd say, probably 3 to 5 years to really create the experience that Dina spoke about?
Yeah, and first, thank you, Dina, for the kind words about Q2. And we feel the same way about working with Stanford. It's a great partnership, really. Yeah, so I mean, I think what's really interesting about what you're talking about, Soren, with the fintech solutions and the FI's desire to do that is it ties directly to the end user, the consumer's desire to have personalized experience and this perception that they're not getting it. And I think one of the things that I'm really passionate about, having worked in this industry for so long, and that got me really jazzed for the opportunity at Q2, is that I think all banks and credit unions want to deliver these personalized experiences. They have the desire to deliver and innovate and quickly, give their customers and members all the things that they want. It's just been really, really hard and really, really expensive. And so, Q2's philosophy has always been that, when they built this platform long before my time, the digital banking platform, the idea was always that it would be something that is easily turned into more modular, more componentized, if you will. They didn't know back when they built the platform exactly what that would look like 20 years down the road. But the last several years, it's become very clear and evident that for our types of customers that we serve, credit unions like Stanford and community regional banks across the country, they can't do it all on their own. It's just not realistic. It's not possible. So meanwhile, there's all of these awesome fintech companies out there like Agent IQ, and there's thousands of others that are doing really great work, that are truly the best in breed at the problem that they're solving. And so Q2 said, wait a minute, we have this open, this platform that was really designed to be extended upon, to be open up to others. What if we open it to fintech providers the same way that we have opened it up to our customers? Because that's really something that I think Q2 was pretty groundbreaking in. Originally was building the tools for our customers to come in and build their own extensions to the platform. So that strategy to open it to partners has really changed the game, I think, for Q2 certainly, but also for our customers, like Dina said, because it helps kind of remove that barrier of the integration that's always existed with the technology providers.
It certainly, Jody, was a transformation for Agent IQ when we started partnering. I guess it was a little more than 3 years ago, nearly 4 years ago. Having a digital provider show up like Q2 did and say, rather than we're going to lock down the walls, we're going to build our own version of what you do, and that's going to be what Dina can consume. Instead, it was, here's access to our SDK and our APIs. We will help you integrate. And I mean, it also speaks to the technical capabilities of Q2 that the SDK was incredibly consumable. And I believe the timeline my team told us was it took about a week to get fully embedded within Q2. And that is truly transformational. Now, Dina, I wanted to talk a little bit about your experience in the past and where you have moved. So historically, for digital communication, you used a lot of secure messaging. And I think a lot of us are familiar with secure messaging. We think about a unique website and so forth, but you had a secure messaging capability that existed within your digital platform. But it sounded like when we met, or evidently, that you did not see that as necessarily being the optimal approach. Do you want to talk a little bit about why? What did you feel was missing, and what were you looking for?
Yeah, so when I started in kind of 2021 with Stanford Federal Credit Union, sort of still very much in the pandemic time, and I think the retail teams were really going through a transition. What they saw was the secure messaging volume kind of had doubled, and really kind of continued to sort of double over time and every year. That was an indication to us that our members were wanting to interact with us in a digital format. It's not like the call volume had kind of doubled or tripled, right? It was truly the email volume that had. So I think kind of a solid indication to how our members really wanted and preferred to do their banking. And as we worked through then, the kind of the volume and trying to deal with, getting through, making sure we're getting back to members, what we found was it was taking on average kind of 5 emails to actually service that member. And for those of us in the kind of the financial institution and member customer centric world, that the ideal solution is to first kind of contact resolution, right? You want to be able to service that member if you can, or service that customer, and they're kind of that first contact. And so what we found was that the secure messaging we knew was not something that was going to kind of long term serve us. And so at that point, we went on this journey to start, looking for what were some other options out there. And that's when we started to, look into, Agent IQ and what Agent IQ had to offer.
And can you talk a little bit to, so of course, from a member perspective, you said we all want to do first-time resolution, but you also shared with us that your colleagues did not necessarily appreciate the back and forth. So I know you have an extremely high level of customer satisfaction. Also, you have a very, very high, very high level of a very high focus on ensuring that your members have the best possible experience. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when we did launch, so we launched Agent IQ, we kind of initially have launched is the chat. So unauthenticated, so on our website, the chat being that the members can come in, and then authenticated, which is built into the Q2 platform. And one of the great surprises about when we launched was that our team members actually really loved using Agent IQ, and we were surprised. So when we launched, Agent IQ, we sort of kind of a leadership team had prepared for maybe the team that had been used to using secure message, right? So you had time, you could email the member, you could maybe, kind of talk to your colleague and ask your kind of the person sitting next to you, how do you answer, this members, or even go grab, a supervisor or manager, ping them and ask them, how to, service this member. And so we thought maybe there was going to be this sort of transition time. And what we actually found was the team loved being able to do the kind of that first point contact resolution. It was like it took something off their to-do list, because if you're having to go back and forth with the member and wait for the member reply, or you're having to go look into something that it's sort of like it was kind of building up as this to-do list for them. And we found that our team members were really satisfied. I also, one of the things that we found from a team member perspective was we also launched Agent IQ's co-browsing. So, that was one of the reasons we were interested in Agent IQ, is sort of all the different, it really sort of fit everything we were looking for. So, it obviously addressed the secure messaging through the chat. It gave us the video option. And then it also gave us, the co-browsing option. And anybody out there in the audience that runs a contact center, you've, experienced walking by the contact center and the contact center person's eyes are closed because they're trying to remember exactly where something in your online banking is, because they need to direct the member through exactly how to get to that, certain place to renew their CD or transfer money or something. And what we found was that the team member was very satisfied by the fact that they could launch co-browsing and lead the member through how to solve something or find something in online banking. So it's been a great win for us.
So Dina, I remember in one of our earlier conversations, you expressed that Stanford Federal Credit Union overall, you have a hesitation about, you are a very tech-forward organization. You realize the potential AI brings with it, but you also showed up with I think, a very pragmatic approach to, we don't want to become the organization that puts a chatbot between our members and our associates. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you used AI and what did you launch? What has the feedback been on that?
Yeah, so from a internal standpoint, the motivation for us to have that AI component was that we wanted to be able to solve some of our members' questions quickly. They didn't have to wait for someone to get on the chat and respond back to them. They could self-service basically. And that allows us, right? That allows you to free up FTE to serve members in a different way. But again, what we found was that members were really satisfied by doing the self-service option. Stan is how we've named our chatbot, Stan. So when we launched initially, within the first week, we could remove an FTE off of chat, which was great. We were on the unauthenticated side, we had 2 FTE dedicated to serving our members via chat, and we immediately were able to move an FTE off. And then what we have seen is that we've continued to be able to. We've now launched the AI into Q2, and I actually I'm doing all my end of year stuff, and so what I'm finding with my end of year stuff is that on the authenticated side now, Stan is answering 80% of our chats. And we have not had any member complaints, right? So that was a big concern of ours. Is a member going to feel like, that they can't get to an FTE, they can't talk to a human because we put this thing in their way. And it's been, great to see that our members are loving Stan. Stan's addressing their questions. And we continue to get smart so we can review the information and see, do we need to make some changes, some menu option, changes. But it's been, really nice to see that members love Stan as much as we love Stan.
I think it's fantastic to see, because I think Stan is truly an example of not artificial intelligence, but augmented intelligence. This idea that your members can always get to talk to an associate, is that we're not putting a moat between your members and your associates, but you're saying, we know that many members have a question about the following, and we want to make that available 24/7. You don't have to wait for anybody. It's just there. And if this is not it, we are right there to help you. Yeah. I think that's just there.
And we use a third party for our off hours. So if members call when we're closed during business hours, and we've seen that within like our first week of launching Agent IQ, we saw a kind of a 70% reduction in our after hours. So this is members needing to go and talk to our after hours call center. And then it's just, we've seen that it's continued to be about a 30% reduction in our after hours call volume. So again, it just goes to show that, members want to, do that self-servicing, and that, which has, been a great win for us.
Fantastic. Well, Jody, it's a lot that Dina and the team, and I've worked directly with the team. I know they're hardworking. You'll get messages anytime from them, which is fantastic. So I'm not surprised that they have achieved a tremendous amount. But can you talk to us a little bit about how did Q2 enable all these services to be enabled and launched within the digital environment?
Yeah, well, going back to what I was talking about earlier with the kind of opening up the platform. So that's where this Innovation Studio, which is the organization that I work within Q2, that's where this really came into play. So once we had this idea of let's open it up to partners like you guys and other third-party developers even, we kind of formalized that a little bit. We met with some of our customers like Dina and her counterparts across the country and tried to understand how can we make this most beneficial to them and to their members. Ultimately, Q2, is really behind the scenes for the end users, which is who we're all most concerned about, for the members. And so we really kind of built this program and then found partners like you guys, and a lot of them have found us, frankly, that that wanted to be a part of this. And what's been really cool is most of the companies that are participating in this Innovation Studio partner ecosystem were brought to us by one of our customers. And so what's happening is these banks, these credit unions are out there. They have a customer that comes to them or a member that comes to them and says, hey, we're looking for a solution for X, Y, or Z. Then they, the financial institution brings it to us, and then we, kind of open the platform and let the partners build that integration onto the platform so that then it's available for the credit unions to go and make available to their end users. So it's really delivering on that, that personalization that the account holders are looking for. And one thing I think is really interesting to keep in mind when we talk to Stanford, because you guys are, you do have a unique member base in that you have these really progressive, very tech savvy users, which is awesome. And at Q2, we love that because it, it continues to push us in all the right ways. But I want to be clear, like, I don't think that is unique. I don't think that their demands and what they're looking for are unique to Stanford. I believe really, and we see this when we do end user studies regularly. We have a whole team, a research department that's out there talking to online banking users, and it's consistent. Even if I don't work at Google, I don't work at Facebook, like maybe a lot of your members do. If you're a community bank in Iowa that serves mostly farmers, they still use those same tools. And so their expectations, maybe they're not going to tell you that they need to rewrite the code, but their expectation of what to, their experience, it is the same. And I think that's something that has been really important in our conversations with our customers over the last 5 years. It's probably more than it had been in the previous 5 years is, how can we help you meet that demand that is very real to your account holders?
It is interesting, Jody. I'm going to take a little bit of tangent because what you brought up here, I think it's really interesting. Something we have seen in the last few years. We went through about a decade of saying everybody should be able to do everything they want to do from the couch. And Q2 was probably one of the first, if not the first, digital banking organization to enable that fully. Now, what we have seen in the next few years that yes, members and customers really do want that, but it's not all they want. This idea of there are things where if my knee hurts, I talk to my doctor. If my garden looks bad, I talk to my gardener. If my finances hurt, I want to talk to not a banker, but I want to talk to a human that I trust, that I feel I can open up to. I want to talk to Stanford Federal may be amazing, but I want to talk to Dina because she understands my accent and she knows the background and so forth. So I want to talk to my individual. So I think it's really interesting to look at this paradigm of saying we want to create self-service until members want to talk to a real human.
Yeah, I think sometimes that we're all trying to deliver on personalization and delivering niche solutions, right? That very unique individuals, whether they're small businesses, whether they're consumers, everyone is very unique. And I think that the banking space has come a long way in delivering on that. But what inevitably happens is the more optionality that we provide, it can also create overwhelm if we're not really intentional about how we target and how we deliver and how we talk to these users. And so I think that's where this element of almost an advisory type of role. Now, whether that's a literal physical conversation or just the way that the information is organized, but I think it's very important either way. And something that we do hear from users when we do our research, they're telling us, look, we want to go to our financial institution to help advise us and guide us on product selections, even if they're not directly, kind of traditional banking services. And so I think that this partnership, what is happening between Stanford and Agent IQ is really compelling because you're delivering on that, ability to help kind of curate and deliver to users in a way that is still scalable for the institution, which to me is really a win-win. It seems to be, I wrote down some of the stats, Dina, because that was the first time I'm hearing them, that I think those are really, they're kind of proof points, right? That you're able to deliver on what your members are looking for in a way that isn't going to just totally bog the institution down. In fact, it's having the opposite effect.
That's
really
true.
cool.
Yeah, it's true. And, one thing I haven't even, kind of gotten to and talked about yet is just even the video feature that, we've launched with, Agent IQ. For us, we serve a large international member base. And again, this was something that we, didn't necessarily expect, but it kind of came along and surprised us, is that we've been able to use the video sessions to identify members. So, oftentimes, we would identify members with kind of the OTP, a one-time passcode. And sometimes we have an issue with that with the international phone numbers. And we found that, this being able to launch the video and identify members removed this huge friction point for us. And again, I think, Jody, that goes to a little bit what you talked about, right? Like, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a Stanford, Federal Credit Union member to not want friction. Right? No
Right.
consumer, wants friction, ever.
Right.
And so that's been this, really great sort of, win for us. And again, we were even a little nervous about the video part too, right? And Agent IQ can probably tell you, we, went through this kind of whole conversation with them around, the video and launching. Would members want to launch the video and not? And we found, no, members are fine. They're fine to launch the video. And then again, it also kind of served this piece for us that we didn't realize it would, which is the identification, that we can just boom, launch the video right there and ID the member, which has been, great. So
yeah, that's awesome.
I think one of the things that also made that possible, Dina, was that we hear a lot about talking about we want personalized services, and we do. We like personalized services. What we really love, though, is personal services. And I think one of the reasons why your video chat has also been so well received is that your associates are very personal. The idea is they do want to let you know who they are. They are who they are, and it comes through genuine and authentic. And when someone says it's okay if I just verify you, it doesn't feel like it's a financial institution. It's not Stanford standing up and saying, I'm not sure I trust you. It is the person you're talking to, the human being you're just chatting with right now, that's saying, hey, I have an easier way to resolve this.
And that goes to that where I say it's really been a win on both the member and the team member, piece of it. I always kind of say this at the credit union, if we find that a team member made a mistake or something, I'm like, a team member doesn't want to let a member down. I mean, right, like, no team member is sitting there going, well, I hope I can't service this member right now. Now, right, the team members truly, they want to help the member, they want to service the member, they want to provide that outstanding service. And so, we thought we were launching a tool for our members, and what we found is we were launching a tool for our members, and we were launching a tool for our team members as well.
That's really fantastic. Tina, I want to get a little bit back to, so we're talking a lot about the data, and I'll look back on that a little bit later. But Jody, you spoke about how Q2 enabled Agent IQ to integrate into the Q2 platform. And Dina, I want to ask from your experience. So Jody and I can talk about how great it was. The innovation studio was easy to use for us. We thought it was very easy to use as well. But ultimately, I think the real experience is how was the technical implementation from your side?
Yeah, and I'll maybe take a little bit of a step back. When we kind of were looking to solve, what we knew we needed to go out and find a vendor that, could help us with a different tool than our secure messaging. And we did a lot of due diligence, right? We looked at a lot of, different vendors, and we immediately kind of narrowed that big list down to vendors that were partners of Q2. And that we could, select from, the marketplace, or the innovation studio. I mean, that kind of became this immediate, like, that had to be a must-have on the checkbox. And the reason for that was that we knew it was going to be not only an easier implementation, but we knew that it was going to be fast too. That kind of like, that we could, get the contract signed and then immediately be able to, get it launched and out to our members. Quickly. And that was obviously a big win. So I guess the answer to the question, Soren, is it was fast, it was positive. And we had known that just from, obviously being a Q2 partner and, and selecting, other partners of, that Q2 had done, business with. And it's really because it's like having, well, I don't know what the percentage, Jody, you probably know, but more than 50% of like the kind of implementations already done for you, right? I mean, so from our standpoint, it was like we knew there was going to be this whole piece of implementation that we didn't have to put on our developers. And even as we sort of internally at the credit union talk about, launching projects, and I think probably a lot of people do this as you're going through your planning, a huge piece is, what's going to be the load on your IT department or your development department, right? I mean, that's usually a consideration as, we're looking at, how many projects can we kind of take on and do in a year that are, and I can tell you here at Stanford Federal Credit Union that if there's a project and we know that we can partner with someone who Q2 has already partnered with, it's like, it becomes, instead of as you're t-shirt sizing your projects, it's, it immediately takes that t-shirt size down to a small and maybe even an extra small, which means that we can bring more value to our members on our project list. So we can just do more and we can do it quickly.
So I'm gonna bring more. I mean, Dina, we've spoken about some of the different data points. I'm going to try to remember some of the data points you mentioned here, but I'm interested in just hearing before we go into more details, how has the service adoption been? Did members adopt the service the way you anticipated, or what has your experience been?
Yeah, so I've already talked a little bit about kind of how Stan obviously has helped us because Stan is and that, by the way, that stat has gone up, Soren, since the last time we talked.
Right?
Just because
I thought you were talking about 50% in the past, and now I'm hearing
and now
80%.
I'm at 80. I even double checked that number, by the way, when I saw my flash report come through and I was looking at the stats. I literally sent a note over to my vice president of retail and I said, "Am I reading this right? Is Stan up to 80% of the chats from?" So that's obviously helped, but we're also seeing a decrease in our secure message volume. So we've had on the authenticated side, so within Q2 we've now had about 4 months. It's been launched about 4 months, and so we're still seeing kind of a decrease in our secure message volume, so kind of at 30%. And I honestly think we will see that continue to decrease. I think we sort of did a little bit of the toe in the water and didn't do a huge kind of promotion to our members, although our members are finding their way to it. And so we're kind of doing some tweaking and changing, so I think we'll continue to see that secure message volume go down just the longer we have Agent IQ launched within Q2. I think we'll start to see that statistic kind of, and start to see the secure message volume continue to go down. So
can I ask a question out of curiosity, Dina? When y'all went into this journey, what were you expecting? I'm just curious how the results are so far compared to what you expect, and hopefully they're better and I didn't just walk into I honestly don't know. That was not a planned question, but I am just curious because you seem happy about 80% and it sounds great. I just don't know what you thought it would.
So I think obviously from a member standpoint, the adoption has been much better than we thought. I mean, the fact that, I'm not kidding, we have had no member complaints. So I'm going to knock on wood for those of you out there from the servicing side, always knock on wood when you're talking about no member complaints. So I mean, truly, we've had no member complaints, and that we absolutely kind of, we geared up. We sort of had prepped QA for team and for the leadership team, just in case members felt like, because we all of a sudden had put kind of an AI in front, was there going to be again, that kind of resistance to their trying to not let me get to an actual human to service. So I think that the AI and the adoption of our members using it is so much better than I thought. And I think for us it was more about how quickly it all happened. It's like we went live, and I think the data it's all happening so much faster than we thought. I think we would have said, oh, okay, maybe at 6 months we'll be here, or 12 months, maybe even I'd say, we'll be here. But honestly, truly, the biggest win for us has been the team member. I mean, we literally had internal conversations around, were the team members going to be resistant? And, and so I think, obviously any win for the members, a win. But I really would say that it came from a team member perspective. It's been so much better, Jody.
That's That's nice to hear.
Yeah, and something that we wouldn't have, I did not put that in my business case as a stat to, if anything, right, I put the opposite in my business case as I was presenting this internally. I put the, be prepared for staff to, maybe not be happy about this.
Yeah.
So I
mean,
did
there's
not put a
probably-
happiness.
Probably some skeptics,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Goes. Okay,
And
cool.
I would imagine coming off a period where we have all struggled with hiring, retaining
Yeah.
associates, it's not a bad thing keeping them happy, is it?
It's not bad. Yes. And it was tough there for a little bit. So.
Fantastic. Hey, Dina, I'd love to talk a little more about Stan. So, and I'm gonna also add some perspective from the add some thoughts from the Aiden IQ perspective. So, for those of you that are listening and that are not aware, one of our standard asks is anytime we go live with a partner like Stanford, we ask if we can meet weekly after we go live. The idea is that our whole value proposition, we want to make it easy for members to talk to Stanford. Similarly, we want to make it easy for Stanford to talk to Aiden IQ. I think one of the things that has been incredibly important for Stan is, of course, your team knowledge of what members are talking about, but also the idea of using AI to analyze conversations and then respond to it. So instead of saying we launch Stan with 10, 20, 50 journeys, it is we launch Stan with a journey we think members are going to like, but then we have the ability to continuously tweak it. And you want to share a little bit about your experience with that?
Yeah. So it's been great. So what we initially did is we basically just went out and, kind of asked the retail team. So what are the questions that you think that would, be okay for members to self-service? So things like what's your routing number, right? We all hopefully that, lands with the audience. That's a common one. You always wonder when a member calls up and asks what your routing number is, but even though we put it on our footer of our website and everywhere else. So, okay, we initially just went out and did like a survey. Okay, what are some of those questions? And then obviously, with Agent IQ kind of partnered on, building that out. And then we do meet weekly. And then on a monthly basis, Agent IQ basically gives us the data and the stats on if they think that maybe we need to adjust our menu options because they're not being utilized. And what we found in our first meeting is no member was asking what our routing number was.
Oh.
We thought for sure members would, that would be something. So, but again, what that allowed us to do, is allowed us to replace that with, something that our members were asking us to do. So an example is, and we probably all know this, it's deposit time, right? Every financial institution is trying to get deposits and, the certificate renewal. And that is something that we have built into Q2 that members can self-service. But what we found is members were going in and, asking that, like, how do I renew my CD? And what's been great is then we've been able to kind of deep link in and send the members right to where they can go to self-service the renewal of the CD. So yeah, I mean, I think that's where I think the partnership has been great because, obviously, Soren, the Agent IQ team is helping us analyze that data and make sure that it's relevant. But I even think for us, it was kind of eye-opening for us. Again, we started out with, hey, what do you guys, what do we think are kind of the top solutions? And what we found maybe is that we needed to adjust and change. And I honestly think that what has contributed to that number going from 50 to 80%, Soren, is that, because of that partnership and that constantly looking and fine tuning, we've gotten to a place where we're probably at a good place on the menu that members are, what we're allowing members to, chat with and self-service chat with the chatbots answering those questions. So I also think that's what's contributed to that number increasing.
Yeah, I'm quite fascinated by that. So you reach 80% of members get the answer they want, and yet you not have anybody complain. So clearly your members are not feeling that they're being held at bay. It's being seen as being a support, not a blocker, effectively.
Yeah. Well, and I think, Jody alluded to this, a little bit. I mean, it's right. Like consumers are used to being able to go into Google and ask a question and get it answered. Right. So I mean, to me, and so I guess, I say that in that it's, I think for the financial institution, when you're launching this, it is maybe understanding, you know, what is it you think is okay for your member to self-service, and what is something maybe that they might type into the chat bot that you know that they most likely want to, they want to get a human. So, so instead of maybe trying to roadblock the human, just allow them to get to the human. And that's, been nice, because at every point, and this was something, Soren, I think the Agent IQ team did really well, is kind of guide us at, okay, at what point should you put in there, that they can speak to a representative, or they can, chat with a representative and get to a representative, right away. And so I think that's where, your team was helpful with us in helping us kind of find those points of, again, CD renewal is probably something, you don't necessarily need to, especially if you're able to self-service it, right? You don't necessarily need to talk to somebody about.
And Dina, how do you look at conversations? How do you analyze this? You spoke a little bit about we meet and look at data, but do you want to share a little bit about how do you as a CEO look at the conversations, the aggregate data in the individual conversations as well?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously you guys are providing reports for us, or the team can even, kind of, can obviously pull up reports and look at the reports. And so that's really what we're doing. I mean, we're kind of internally sort of looking at, are members using it? Are they, again, the routing was, honestly, that was kind of eye-opening for us. It was like, oh, okay, members don't necessarily, I guess our members are finding our routing number, no, easily. And so I think, yeah, for us, it's just about kind of looking at the reporting. And I think, anytime you launch a new vendor, right, there's probably a bit more of a spotlight, on kind of, the success. And so it's just that accountability of going, okay, this is, we're looking at the reporting, we can see what kind of the members want, what they don't want. And again, I, just said, I'm going to repeat myself again, but I really do think that's what's contributed to that number going up from 50% to 80%, is the fact that we paid attention and are kind of actively monitoring Stan and how our members, use Stan or want to use Stan.
And maybe I can share a little bit for some of the people on the webinar here that are not familiar with that. So we think about that as the other side of Stan. So as Dina has shared, Stan is Stanford Federal Credit Union's virtual assistant that is now able to manage 80% of all conversations. But there is another side to how Stan or AI is used within Stan. And the idea is we want to make sure, of course, when you have menu choices, it's not too hard to track what do members actually click on, what do they not click on. But where we think it becomes really interesting is when you start using natural language processing to tag conversations. So if we're having 5,000 conversations a week, rather than having to go read the conversations, having Stan or the back of Stan using natural language processing to tag the conversation and display trend lines and display kind of what is trending, what are members talking about right now, both what we anticipate they're talking about, but also this open white space where we simply just clustering, looking at all conversations that happen, see, are there any natural clusters that we did not observe? And I think that's to what Dina is talking about. When you start combining kind of AI-led data insight with the understanding that the Stanford team has about how do members behave, you get to a really powerful solution where you can see yes, as you said, Dina, I did not know we were up to 80%. When I last we spoke, I think the data was about 45, 50%. So that ability to not just fire and forget, but to continuously evolve and get to a situation that tremendously benefit your members, but of course also your associates.
That's true. Yeah. Like I said, I can go back on my flash report and tell you the exact month we made the menu change because I immediately saw the change in the next month. But yeah, but to your point, right? If we're able to see what members are typing in and how often the members are typing that in, I think the CD renewal was something that came out of that that data. That we were able to look at that members were typing that in, and it was like, okay, wow, this maybe is something that wasn't something that we launched with, And then, what's nice is we are able to make, the changes. So, for example, we know that right now it's IRA season for those of us in the financial services world. And we know that there's a lot of members will be asking IRA questions. And so it's being able to anticipate that and go in. And that, again, that's just, it's anticipating your members, it's removing that friction, it's anticipating their needs. It kind of checks all those, sort of boxes that financial institutions want to when they're servicing, their members.
Well, Dina, it's a lot. You have covered a tremendous amount of ground in about 6 months here. Well, what's next? 2 months holiday?
No.
Somehow I don't think that's the case.
No. So one feature that I think, from Soren, from Agent IQ's perspective, that I think, you guys maybe would say is key is the kind of the personal banker feature. I know that, and, when we were, talking to you at the beginning, we actually spoke to some of your other clients that launched with the personal banker feature. So, it's basically allowing the member to, go on to chat and see sort of all the, kind of all the agents that are on the other side, and they have these, great, cute little profiles built out. And so we, members can still see the profile of who they are actually chatting with. So, we've launched with that, but we didn't initially launch with allowing the member to select, who they wanted to necessarily chat with. And I know that was a big piece of Agent IQ. Again, it's that kind of building that, relationship. It's the idea that, a member walks into a branch and the member will, wait until their teller is available or, their banker is available. And so that is something that we are going to move to and launch. And again, we just didn't initially do it because it wasn't how we were, set up. But in talking to your other, clients, I know we've gotten some great feedback. So we're going to launch the fact that the personal banker, which I think actually will land pretty well with our membership base. We also have not launched the SMS yet, but we'll be launching SMS, and we're going to initially do that with our students. So we have a branch that is on campus at Stanford, and so primarily they serve the student. And so we are actually going to have the branch, use Agent IQ and service the students via SMS. That's just something that we haven't done yet. And one of the things I like about, I'm going to say this just to, I know I sound like a commercial for Agent IQ, but I'm going to say it to all you people out there in webinar land. One of the great things about Agent IQ, and one of the reasons we chose Agent IQ, is that everything is built into an admin portal. And so the SMS is built in, right? So I say that in that, when we were looking at some other vendors, there wasn't the integration. And so it meant the team member was going to have to kind of go to different places, right, depending on the different tool available. And so, this is great because once you're trained on using the chat, you're also trained on using the SMS, right? So from a kind of a team member's perspective. So it's great because this makes it an easy launch for our branch on campus to launch SMS. And then we just are getting ready to launch DocuSign. And this is a huge win for us, again, because it gets off of that secure messaging. And so if we need a member to DocuSign something, we can then send that through the chat versus having to do the follow-up. So having to, we know that the member wants something that they have to sign via DocuSign, and then we have to move to the secure messaging channel and email that to the member to sign. Where, the members are now we're able to send it over and have them DocuSign securely anything we need. So those are our near future plans. And Soren, we're not going to stop there. So
I certainly hope you wouldn't. But Jody also knows, so clearly we have achieved a lot together with Dina, but also know while we have been beavering away here, you've been extremely busy over at Q2. So what's next for partners like Stanford?
So we have a lot going on. I think one of the things probably most relevant and interesting to this conversation is, in our ecosystem, we have about 130 different financial technology partners and other technology partners that have built these integrations. And I think, we're seeing a lot of opportunity for kind of collaboration between partners. So a lot of the solutions are complementary. And so for the institution, going back to how Dina told the story of, narrowing down when she was looking to solve this problem. And they said, we're going to just start with who Q2 already has integration so we can save all that custom integration work that everybody hates. It's expensive, no fun. So taking that mentality, but how can we take that a step further for her and those like her to say, well, who does Agent IQ work really well with that's in our sandbox that creates a more valuable story for Dina or for her members? And how do we kind of take more of that upfront vetting and kind of strategic bundling off their plates? That's one thing. I'm also very excited. You guys talked a lot about kind of this back end data strategy and insights and everything you're learning there. So if you take kind of our purview, we get to work with so many great partners with you that are collecting those unbelievable insights. So take that across all the different types of companies that we're working with. There's some really interesting things that as you start to tie it all together, you really learn about user behavior and how to build more effective and more efficient tools for them. So we're doing, we're just scratching the surface on pulling all that together, but that's all related to a big initiative right now is really creating a more personalized, kind of more dynamically personalized interface for the digital banking altogether that gives users, I always use the word personalized, not custom. Custom is not really what people want. People want something that is relevant. So more of that personalized experience in a very natural and organic way. So tying all those things together, it's going to be a really exciting year for Q2. So that's pretty much it.
I'm also, you mentioned UI, and I feel like there's a new exciting thing coming on. And I feel like Dina has been talking a bit about the composable dashboard.
Yeah.
You want to give a little bit of, open the veil a little bit to that?
Sure. Yeah. So the composable dashboard, that's what I'm talking about. It's really, it's kind of the new interface for Q2's digital banking platform. And it's really designed to be more personalized for the user. It's much, it's a cleaner look. It's all based in lots of studies and tons of UX research and insights. And so that's already starting to roll out. And we have partners that are building their widgets basically now into that interface in addition to kind of the legacy platform as well. So that's something we're super jazzed about. It's getting really great feedback. And as we continue to get more data, we get the ability to be even more personalized in how those kind of modules and dashboard components are delivered. So very, very exciting stuff on the horizon. Well, already in progress, actually.
That's exciting. Dina, what are you thinking about a composable dashboard?
Yeah, so I've obviously, Jody knows we were one of kind of the first clients to launch, to do the testing. We actually even put it out to a select group of our members to get, our members' feedback. So yeah, we were, good, all positive, and looking forward to when we can do the kind of the full launch of it, Jody.
Us too. Thank you. It's exciting.
It is exciting, isn't it? I know we're coming up on time soon. I just wanted to save a couple of minutes to see if any of the participants in the webinar has any questions. And while everybody goes off mute or finds the keyboard, I also did want to mention that as we prepared for our session today, Jody, Dina, and I worked together on putting a case study together. It exists on the Agent IQ website. We call it The Scoop. It is basically a collection of testimonials, case studies, and so forth, material that we feel can be useful as people think about what does the future of membership relationship look like. Because I do think that it's the term that we continue to hear is use AI to augment and recreate personal relationships. But with that, let me see if we have any questions coming in. I wonder if I have access to that. If not, we may just have done such an outstanding job that there are no questions left to be answered. Is there anything else? So I've tried to guide us in a slightly meandering way because I really want this to be a conversation. Is there anything for either you, Dina, or Jody, that we have not spoken about? Anything that's kind of that you think is important for other participants to hear or to learn?
No,
well,
I guess. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jody.
I was just going to say, you asked us what's on the horizon. So, what's on the horizon for Agent IQ?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. So we can say, as you know, you met Slaven many times before. Our CEO and co-founder Slaven used to run AI for Google Cloud. It means that we are AI is extremely important to us, but we also want to use pragmatic AI. So I think where we see a lot of enhancements is really using AI, of course, to power virtual assistants like Stan, but really start continuing to create value by having our built-in AI help the associates. So Jody, if you're asking me about someone I'm interested in a mortgage, and we often see lots of conversation about that. Why wouldn't we have AI suggest responses, pull up documents, materials, and help me be a better associate, be a better banker? We'll also be looking more on things like how do customers feel about the conversation? So using analytics to understand what is the customer happy right now? Are they not happy? What kind of verbiage do they use? What kind of what can I say, written body language are they exposing? So, but for us, it also is, it's a matter of keeping a finger on the pulse to see what are the channels customers want to work with, because we love authenticated conversations. But as Dina said, that is a population where SMS is important. So make sure that you are on top of things like Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and are able to aggregate all conversations and interactions into a single compliant platform.
I love to hear the team member side there, Soren, because yes, onboarding, getting our associates onboarded quickly and being able to answer the question is huge. So
perfect. Dina, was there anything else that we did not that we missed?
no, I was just going to offer up, if anybody wants to reach out, obviously feel free to, available to kind of answer if you think of a question, maybe and you don't want to type it into the chat, willing to address any questions offline. So,
and I just saw a couple of questions come in, and Jody, I'm going to ask for earmuffs because we get a couple
we know that we know you have other partners. It's okay, Soren.
Well, the question was, does 8IQ integrate our digital platforms? And you know what, I think honestly, Jody, Q2 moved the industry. I think majority of digital partners have now realized, digital vendors, that the walled garden doesn't work anymore, and you certainly progress the industry by a decade very, very quickly. So that means that 8IQ has been able to integrate with a number of other partners. So we're today have integrated or are integrating with partners like Banno, like Jack Henry Spanish, sorry, of course, with Q2, we're integrating with DI, we're integrating with FIS Flex, we're integrating with eBank IT. Some of you may have seen us announcing that, I believe, yesterday morning. We are looking to integrate with NAMI as well. So we are looking to integrate with the majority of platforms, and we also do have partners with Fiserv that are launching 8IQ integrate within the digital footprint. So I'd say the time where it was too costly, too difficult to integrate and to maintain, I hope has come and gone. With that, I think we are out of time. So Dina and Jody, thank you so much for joining us. We will be sharing the recording for people that are unable to join the whole webinar here. We will be sharing the recording. But again, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for the fantastic partnership. We continue to be excited about what the next 6 months will bring.